Hello there, I'm AYB, founder of Spark AI, where we help businesses automate their process and implement AI in their workflows. Today, we're looking at memory key. What exactly is memory key? Memory key is actually a feature of OpenAI's ChatGPT right here in Zapier that allows to get consistent result on a particular block. Right, so I'll explain exactly what I mean. Let's say there's a form submission, right? And the form looks exactly like this. We put our name, email, company, how can the service that the lead actually wants, and then how they got to hear about us. We input this particular stuff, and then we got a response from the form. And let's say we want to generate a very short response to them, like an auto response, and we just say we received. This is more of like also prompting. Just say we received a form response right? And yeah, this here, I just want to be short actually. Here the form details. This is not like a very detailed prompt, though. I just want to like, I'll just like put form name. Let me just put name, right? I'll just put it email. It's not need to put the email. Our service needed. I think that's very important. Service needed. Yep. And then most likely how they got here about us. They heard about us, right? Right. Now I can just log in. Now I can put the values from the form. Let's say I want to put the name right here. I can just put the name, and that will be Jane Goodall, right? Then I can add service needed can be automation, blah. And then how they got to hear about us should be YouTube, right? So that's like cheap. So now this is where we put the instruction. Generate a short response to this lead. Short email response. That's like very important. And then one thing I want to say is also generate just the body, and that's very important. Just the body. Do not include the subject, right? Subject. Um, Not include the subject in the email. Yeah, I think that's like very chill, right? Now that's exactly now this is exactly where we can lock in. I'll just say you are an expert customer. Okay, you are our customer success representative at Spark AI, right? So just have it right there, and then this is where we can lock in the memory key. Right now, we like I think I have one here. I can just say Spark AI 1 2 3 4 5. Like what this means is that okay, we are going to do this without memory key, and then we're going to do it with memory key, right? So you can see the difference between that, right? So let's say generate email body. This is generate email body, right? Now, I'm not adding a memory key here. I'm not adding any memory key, and then we're going to run this particular response. And you're going to see exactly what I mean by how they're getting consistent results. So if I test this step, right, and yes, I've tested this step, I go to next step because I cannot preview this step until I go to the next step. That's when I can preview the result of the previous step, right? So let's say I want to preview the result and see exactly what did I get from that body. So I can see, hi Jane, thank you for your interest in our AI automation service, Zapier and Make. We're excited, blah, 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 blah. This, can you just lock in this particular response? Thank you for your interest in um, AI automation service. We're excited to help you streamline. That's like, right? Now, if we go back and retest this step, right? If we, I'm trying to see if I can um, quickly get a screenshot of that particular stuff, and then yeah, so that you can see that there's quite difference. So let me come by here. I come over here and let's say I want to get the response from the body, right? This is it. Let me see if I can get a screenshot. um, okay, let me just get this bad boy, right? Copy it and put it on my keep. So I just want you to see exactly like quite kind of differences that we have, the consistency that we also have when we are trying to like lock in responses, right? That is very important. So if I put it here, so we can always have access to it, so you can see the response we get. So we are going to run this particular step again without the memory key, so you can see like the difference, and then we are going to run the memory key and then we'll see the difference, right? Now I think we have logged this in, right? So next thing we want to do is that we are we're going to, yes, we're still going to run it again without the memory key. So we're going to test this step, right? Without memory key. Now let's preview the response again. We come over to the preview response now. Can you see? Yeah, can you see hi Jane? Now, let me get a screenshot and place it side by side so we can see the difference, right? We can see the difference, right? So if you come over here and then I still put it, so let's place side by side. If you see, so you see hi Jane, you see thank you for the interest in our AI. Now you can see something like trying to still loading. You can see ID, thank you for reaching out, right? Can you see? We are through to here, you blah blah blah. So you are seeing we're excited. So it's more of like not consistent, right? So you can your name, your contact information, like not consistent. So let's try it with. So now let's tag this without memory key. Um, without memory key, right? So now this is the response we get without memory key. So you can see without memory key, it looks exactly like this, right? So if we come back and then we lock in the memory key in this particular, the same prompt, like we are talking about the same prompt, right? And then we just had the memory key, let's say Spark AI 12345, right? 12345, right? That's like the memory key that we are using now. So we are trying to say, okay, I want you to give me, if I add this memory keys are just like tags, right? You're saying I'm associating this tag with this particular prompt, right? So if I use the same prompt and this same tag, I want you to give me this kind of result, right? So that's exactly what you're doing when you had tags, when you had memory key to a particular um, input, right? So if I run this particular bad boy again, right now I've added a memory key. So now it will record that response. And then if I want to get that, if I run it again with that same memory key, I'll get something similar. So this is exactly what I mean. Right, so if I check now, you see hi Jane, blah, 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 blah. Let's get a screenshot of this bad boy. And you see how we can, why memory is actually very important. If I copy this bad boy and come over here and let's say I want to get, so let's call this one um, with a memory key, right? So we have hi Jane, thank you for reaching out and expressing your blah blah blah. It's great to hear and found on YouTube. So let's run that particular bad boy again with the same key, right? It will be almost it's going to be similar, very, it's going to be different from the one we did the other time, right? So let's run this bad boy. Retest step, right? So when you want to actually get consistent results, like when you are doing something at scale, I don't want like different responses to your client, and you're like, "Ah, who is this person? This person sounds happy today. This person like the response sounds professional today. The next time the response is actually casual. And if you don't want that inconsistency in the response you get, this is why memory is actually very important. So let's get the response, right? Have I looked in the okay? Now we can see a slight difference, right? It's just a slight difference. It's quite different from let me show you the screenshot so that you can get it right here. So let's place it side by side. Now it didn't add high, right? That's like slight difference, right? But we can also see that every other thing is the same, right? We can also see that every other thing is the same. Best regards, and then your name. It's quite different from, and I say thank you for reaching out for AI, blah blah blah. Zapier will make it. It's great to hear that you found. So he says it's great to hear that you found us through YouTube. Let us know. So this one says, let us know. We look forward to like helping you. Please let us blah 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 blah, and then get started. Call for blah blah blah. Now this is quite similar, although it's not going to be too, but it's different from without memory key. Now, hi Jane, thank you for, although that's like different, but we're excited to help. And this is saying we are thrilled your blah blah blah, looking forward to like it's almost now you're saying your name and this is your contact. It's quite different, right? So like when you had that memory key to it, you're like you're saying I want you to remember this kind of response all of the time. And when you're running this, I don't want something different from this response. I say just make some slight variation in the responses, right? No, better still, there's another way. Let's say you actually want to always make sure that you want to get the you want to get this particular workflow to remember the previous step. There is another thing you can do, right? And then what you can do is instead of using conversation with just normal conversation, you're going to use something called conversation with assistant, right? So let's say we have an assistant here and conversation with assistant, right? So I am going to use something very true. I have an assistant called URI shopping assistant. It doesn't really matter, right? But I just want to I want to log something in. Right now, the first thing I want to do is that I want to just input my name, right? Okay, let's say I'll just say I received, we received. Let's just use this. We received. So you see how helpful assistants are. Received a lead. Right? This is like chill, right? And now, in this particular first step, like when you're using conversation with assistants, right? The first step is I think I've changed it, right? Conversation with assistant, yeah. So the first step is the step where you can use to generate the message ID. So the first step, it might not might not remember stuff from the first step, right? Because the message ID has not been generated, right? But after the ID has been generated, and if you lock in that message ID in the next step, and then you run it, it will remember that step, right? This is exactly what I mean. So if I run this step now and I say test step, um, what will happen is that we will get a message ID, right? It's still running. I don't know why it's taking long to run. Yeah, I think I've gotten that. Now, if you check our output, you see that we have a message ID, right? Now, let's say we actually want to say, let's see the response that it actually gave us, right? It's just hello, Sims, blah, 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 blah. Now, this is no important. This is like the instructions I actually added to that assistant, right? That's not so important. So next thing I actually want to do is to put some, let's just put any information, right? and put that message ID. So I will have to change this bad boy to conversation with assistant. Yeah. So if I have this particular stuff here and I use the same now assistant, now there will be option, and then if I lock in the same, now this they have a place where I can add, it's also called conversation ID. So this is where I can put the message ID from the previous step, and this is something like this, right? And then I can say something like my name is this is like me storing the information with the memory, like the message ID, right? So if I go to the next step and I ask, I put the message ID and then I ask for that information, it's going to give me, right? So I'm saying, so we have a step for creating the message ID, a step for recording the information you actually want to retrieve, and another step for retrieving the information. So about three steps, right? So I'm saying my name is AYB, and I am the founder of Spark AI, where uh, we help businesses automate their process and implement AI in their workflows. So this is what I'm recording. Like this is what I'm recording, and then I've locked in the memory key, right? So it's going to record this step. That means record with this particular key. I'm locking the response and the key together, right? Now that's exactly to remember that particular step, right? Now it's going to say something like, okay, let's see what it's going to say. Let's check the preview. If I duplicate this step, is it, I should, not necessary. Let me just check it here. So if I check it here, now sorry, hello AYB, it's great to, can you see here saying AYB is great to blah blah blah. I think I made a mistake when I was like supposed to be Spark AI, but it's fine. Let me see. Oh, sorry, it's supposed to be Spark AI. That was like my bad. Uh, so let me run that stuff again so that it will like get the response that I actually want. Right? So now this is very. So if you don't really, if you actually wanted to remember previous steps, right? You use message IDs forward slash assistant. Right? But if you just want to be consistent with that particular block, then use memory key all the time. So we have this here. Now, if I check the response he actually gave me, you see something like hello AYB, it's great to connect with you, the founder of Spaghetti, blah 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 blah. Now, this is it. And now if I use this step, I change this bad boy here to conversation with assistant, right? So if I change it to conversation with assistant, I chose that same assistant that we are talking about. Um, so I think this is Euro Hive that we have been using. And then I lock in the memory key from the previous step, right? So the memory key is actually the conversation ID, right? So this is what I'm doing here. We just have the conversation ID. Let's put it. Then we have put it. And then I can now ask this question. Now let's say, what is my name and what do I do? Simple. And if I run this bad boy, there's this step. Um, so it's still loading, loading. Yep. Yeah. So I think assistance actually takes time when you're, because that's like go over to like to check, and it's going to go through the vector base and some other things that so now I want to add another step so I can preview what I'm saying. So let's no need to add anything. I can just add something like conversation. Not so important conversation. Come on, where are you? Where are you? Where are you? So let's come over here. Now I want to preview this the previous step so that you can see exactly what. Now I just ask it. Um, Coming. Uh, I think I didn't lock in the right memory key. Okay, so let me see. My name is this was the one that we stored, generated the memory key, right? We locked in the memory key here, trying to find out this particular stuff. I want to be sure of this. So this is the conversation EFH6Y. Let's see if that's like, yeah, I think it changed. So I think that's the issue. Um, that's the issue, right? That's exactly why it didn't remember my stuff. So I can now. So what I need to do is to like add. Let me see the memory key I added. This was for me to generate the particular. You have to be careful about this stuff, right? So you see, in these two steps, I actually added more of like the same memory key. Like this was the one. There was no memory key here, right? And then there was actually a memory key here, which is it's actually good that this happened so that you can be careful. This is FHLCY, right? FHLCY, and this is not FHLCY. Most likely, it's not going to remember, right? So because like it's not the memory key for this particular. So just make sure you use the memory key for the step that the stuff was recorded. Right? I don't know why this is shaking like this. FHL, yeah, this is it, right? So this is FHLCY. This is something like this. So if you run this bad boy, right, it should be able to retrieve my information, right? Because that's I locked it in, right? So if you just make sure that you're using a memory key that's like it is on the stuff, or else if you use a different memory key, you might not really get the response that you want. So let's review this stuff and see what it actually gave me. So I'm asking for my name, and then this is the response we got for the first time. Let me see the response we got from this. What is my name? Conversation with assistant. Can you see? Hello again. You mentioned that your name is AYB, right? And then you are the founder of Spaghetti, a company that helps. So you have to be consistent with. I'm actually very happy that like I made this slip mistake because so that you will know that actually if you don't use the right memory key, you actually not get the response. You have to use the memory key that you generated from the first step and then use to record the information. Is that same memory key? It's just like when you actually want to open the like you want to open a door. Yeah, you got a key, right? And then it's that same key that you will use to open the door that you use to close the door, right? The key is very, very important. That's why it's called, it's not memory key, I mean the memory ID, right? The conversation ID, because that's exactly what you use to open and retrieve the information that you have done. So if you have learned something from this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and then comment, and then do all the good stuff. See you guys in the next video.